All right, friends, we are live. Welcome to Notes from the Edge solo version. This is something new we're going to try. We are feeding live into Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Welcome in. Let me try to get to comments. Where are comments? Hang on, guys. I'm trying to get to the comments. People, that's me. Private chat. No, I don't want to do that. There we go. All right, guys. All right, can't post comments. All right, guys, welcome in. We are live. Notes from the Edge. Chat, chill, afternoon coffee version. Come on in if you guys are just getting off work. It is 2 o'clock on the West Coast. That means it's 5 o'clock here. Road's about to be home. Says behind me, stop performing your life. It's one of the topics that we talk about a lot. Dropping the identities, the roles, the masks that we play to be who we truly are, which is really hard to do. When I work on TikTok, very often I will have people come in, post comments, we connect. Sometimes channeled messages come through. I'm an intuitive channeler, guys, on top of everything else that I do. I have certifications in mysticism across the board. I'm a level 2 QHHT practitioner. That took about 2 years to get. And over 100 sessions, over 100 hypnosis sessions. And those are amazing, by the way. If you've never had a QHHT session and you're in my area, look me up. I'd be happy to go to my studio and do one with you. If not, look up one in your area. They are amazing. That is quantum healing hypnosis technique. That is Dolores Cannon's technique. We have since lost her, but we certainly haven't lost her methods. And they can be amazing for getting some subconscious messages if you're feeling stuck in life, or some healing that you may need. Trippy cool stuff happens. I'm also a certified astrologer. I'm a certified alchemist priestess, master crystal healer. I like my crystals a lot. One I'm working with right now. Oh, well, I can't show you that one. Can't show you that one. So welcome in, friends. Welcome in. This is something we're going to be doing spontaneously. If you're here and you want to drop in, drop in. If not, I will talk to myself for a little bit. I have no problem doing that. I do it. What can be a topic we talk about? We talked about trauma bonds. Mediumship. How does mediumship come through? So I was trained by a shaman in mediumship. And typically what I will do is pull through details, specific details. And if those details resonate with somebody who has transitioned, then we usually have a channeled message come through for you. So I will sit on here for a little bit and see if anybody comes on. If you're on, post in comments. I know this is going live to LinkedIn, and that's very corporate-y, so people may not be as spontaneous as they are on TikTok. But we're going to try this anyway. So where did my gifts come from? I started my healing journey at 40 years old. I turned 40 in inpatient rehabilitation. It was a dual diagnosis center for mental health and addiction. And I entered it and I thought I had a minor drinking problem and a slightly bad marriage. And I came out with a chart about this thick. I learned all kinds of new terms: gaslighting, trauma bonding, bottom fishing, codependency, bipolar, borderline, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic alcohol abuse disorder. I am very disordered according to paperwork. But it's fascinating to watch what happens to somebody who becomes paperwork. That's why my memoir, Notes from a Certified Madwoman, is such a pivotal book, I think. It's an insider's perspective on the psychiatric arena and what happens to you when you are a psychiatric patient. And believe me, it's not a fun ride. There's not a lot of dignity to it, and some of the things that happen in institutions are quite inhumane, I think. So you become a number, you become paperwork, and people stop seeing you as a human being. You become your label. If you're like me, you become identified with that label. So come on in, guys. I'll be live for a little bit. If nobody comes in and comments, that's cool. We'll keep doing these. I think we're going to do these once a day. Probably, I don't know if doing it the time you guys get off work. Some of you may be listening in your car, which is cool. Totally cool. What else am I certified in? Alchemy, astrology, master crystal healer. I'm a Reiki master. Energy healer, level 2 QHHT practitioner, as well as corporate advisor. You can be both. And actually, having experience in one can help you in the other. However, I'm procrastinating with you an executive summary that I'm avoiding. So I thought I'd come on here and see how we roll with doing a live. Guys, comments are open. If you are feeling stuck, as in looking around your life going, man, this kind of sucks. I'm not liking this. There are steps that you can do to change it, even if you don't feel motivated to do it. You can lean into willingness. You can lean into curiosity. Curiosity is a very underestimated emotional intelligence skill. When you get curious about what comes next, instead of scared about what comes next, stuff revolutionizes for you, right? You get curious about, what's coming next for me? It's an exciting place to be, really. So come on in, guys. Come on in. I know some of you people who are in your corporate suit right now can't come in for channeled messages. But if you're on Facebook or YouTube and you want to comment, actually, if you're on here and you could comment, that'd be great. Can I share out? How can I? Hang on, guys. I'm going to get a friend in here. Join me live on Facebook. All right, we're going to get a friend in here to try to see how this works. I think we're going to do this once a day, even on LinkedIn, and we'll save it as a podcast. So kiss me. All right, I hope she's okay. She never not answers. All right. Sorry, guys. Hang on. We'll talk in a minute. If you're feeling stuck, drop your questions in the chat. I want to see if this is working. So kiss me. Well, my friends that never not answer their phone are not here. Hang on. So kiss me. I'm live. So kiss me. Copy. We're going to have to edit the hell out of this video, right? Right. Oh, good song. So, story behind this song: when I was raising a family of 5, yes, I did that. Crashed and burned on that one, but we used to drive in the white family van and sing this song together. So it's good that it's on right now. So, friends, what do I do? What do I do when I work with people? I work very intuitively and I work very individually. So I have a system called Advanced Trauma Reprocessing Technique, where we can clear years of trauma in a very short amount of time. It's a system that I have trademarked and developed myself based on all the things that I went through that didn't work for me and the things that did. We also try to move you forward. And I think that's the difference between a transformational coach and a talk therapist, for instance. It's great to look backwards. You really need to do that to gain that hindsight, to know what happened to you. Because sometimes we don't know. All right. And sometimes we don't have language for it. Like, I had no clue my second marriage was a severely trauma bonded relationship with somebody that struggled with clinically diagnosed NPD, that is narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not just saying this guy was an asshole. I'm saying it was clinically diagnosed. I think we overuse that word. I think we all have narcissistic tendencies at times, depending on what we're going through, what stressors we have, how we're dealing with them. Sometimes we're going to deal with our stressors beautifully, and sometimes not so much. For those of us that struggle with mental health stuff, it's going to be even harder. Both my husband and I do. My daughter certainly does. She was raised by a now recovering alcoholic that had untreated mental illness, so it was a little challenging for her. I saved up for her therapy fund as well as her college fund. So, what can you do? There's a topic. If you're estranged from your children because of what you might have done, that's a tough one. Let's make this about mom guilt, and I'll edit this later. That's intuitively where I feel like going. So if you're listening out there and not commenting, totally cool. We'll talk about mom guilt. And I think it's one of the worst forms of guilt, because I think as parents, most of us are always trying the best that we can with what we've got. And we're all going to mess it up. We are going to mess it up. So if you're estranged from your children, what I did for reconciliation and repair was change my behavior. Changed behavior is the best apology. I sobered up, straightened up, got the mental health support I needed. I'm the first person in 3 generations on both sides of my family to seek and find recovery from addiction and mental illness. My father struggled with it severely. Obviously, it's genetic. So I passed some of that down to my daughter. Luckily, I did not pass down my congenital blood disease to her. However, she has decided not to have children because there is a chance that she could pass it on to her offspring. And it's a terrible disorder to live with. So if you are estranged from your children because of what you may have done to them while you were parenting, the first place you got to go is forgive yourself. And that's the hard part, right? Because we really wanted to do our best, and maybe we messed our kids up a little bit. So the first step is to ditch your mom guilt. I'm not a dude, so I don't know about dad guilt, but I know a lot about mom guilt. So you have to forgive yourself first, and then change your behavior as the best apology. And then hope that there can be repair and reconciliation. But in order for that to happen, you need to focus and work on you. You know, if somebody is angry at you, like I was angry at my father the whole time he was alive, really. And when he passed, I had 30 years of his letters that I hadn't even opened because I was so angry at him. And when I did finally read them in his 1950s bus, some of them he hadn't even sent. There was one on a yellow notepad that he hadn't sent yet. I still have it, telling me how wonderful I am. And his passing was difficult because I'm an only child and was sort of his caregiver. One of the last things he said to me was, I've lived alone for 20 years. I want to die alone. And so he did. We honored his wishes. So, intergenerational trauma is going to pass down. They did a study on rats. I think it was cherry blossoms that they used to make the rats scared of the smell of cherry blossoms. And the adult rats got shocked every time they went near the cherry blossoms, the smell of them. So they became scared, terrified of the smell of cherry blossoms, and they avoided it at all costs. Well, their offspring, without being conditioned, was actually scared of the smell of cherry blossoms. And in addition to that, the neurons in their nose were actually bigger. So there was a biological adaptation that got passed down. Fear can be passed down intergenerationally. Anxiety can be passed down intergenerationally. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb, guys. So I hope that helps to kind of let yourself off the hook a little bit, right? Like if you keep beating yourself up, reconciliation probably isn't going to happen. You got to forgive yourself first. We had a great guest on the other day. Steve Barton was a great guest. We've done 2 podcasts with him. And I loved what he said about if you can't forgive the person, forgive the thoughts that you have about the person. So that may be a good place to start. I, in my work, start with forgiving myself. Hang on, guys. Bro's on his way home. Woo-hoo. All right. But I think in addition to our TikTok lives, we're going to start doing some LinkedIn lives, turn these into podcasts. I'll get this transcript of this and we'll get it posted on Notes from the Edge, talking about the things that we need to talk about but aren't, having the conversations that we should have been having all along. I think a lot of workaholics are estranged from their kids. I don't think our kids understand how hard we work. In my case, I had a good corporate gig. I had just signed with one of the top agents in Atlanta for acting and took a cruise by myself and met a gentleman who lived 5 minutes from me in Georgia, down 5 minutes from my apartment. Crazy, right? I was in the Caribbean and met this big dude. He was like 6'8", huge guy. Had such a huge crush on me. And I just liked him as a friend. But when we got back home, we hung out together and I met his roommate, who was also about 6'5". They were all big, just massive dudes who all knew each other. And I had known him for about a month and he was like, do you want to go backpacking in Alaska for 6 months? Because one of their friends was a forest ranger down there. So I did and came back with child. We drove the Alaska Highway in a 1970s Bronco with a rusted out gas tank. Crazy shit we do, right? And I had to make a decision. Do I want to be an actress and hope it works out? Or do I want to go full time into this corporate gig that is working out? So I made the responsible choice of working. And workaholism was a coping mechanism for me also. I was good at it. It was easy. And I needed to do it to support a family of 5. I was the primary financial provider. Guys, drop your comments in the chat. If you're feeling stuck, this is a good place to land. This place is set up with the intention that when you check out, you will feel better. But yeah, we, as parents, we make the best decisions we can with the tools that we have, with a boatload of intergenerational trauma that starts in utero. You know, what was in Mark Holman's book, It Didn't Start With You, that when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, the cell that would become you existed then. So think about that. So all their stress, beyond stress, in my grandmother's situation, we lost her in a DV situation when my mother was just a child, and I came along shortly thereafter. So there was a lot of intergenerational trauma. That's actually one of the reasons I teach trauma-informed martial arts and domestic violence shelters, because if my grandmother had the skills I have, then, man, I don't know, things would have been, who knows? Who knows how much less suffering we might have had. And her assailant did not even serve a day in court. It was on August 9th, 1969, the same night as the Charlie Manson murders in the next town over, the poor part of town, not the fancy part of town. So all the resources and all of the world was looking at that. So the loss of her went unnoticed for everybody, and all the kids got dispersed. And so, again, a lot of intergenerational trauma. We're not trained to be parents. So, again, mom guilt, I think, is one of the heaviest forms of guilt to carry. So you can forgive the thought. As our guest Steve Barton said, you can forgive yourself for not knowing. When you know better, you do better. Now, if you know better and you're not trying to do better, that's when you might want to have a little guilt, because shame is I am bad. Guilt is I did something bad. They're different. Shame vibrates at about a 20 on the David L. Harkins map of consciousness. So it's the lowest vibration you can carry. And a lot of us are carrying a lot of it. We're not saying anything about it. We're not talking about it. We're not letting people know. Hell, half the time, most of us don't even know we have it. So how do we get into a higher vibration? This is really fun work. And I put the thumbnail on this, that this is chat, chill, and curiosity. I think willingness and curiosity are emotional intelligence skills that are very overlooked and some of the most important. And here's why. If we're aiming for happiness all the time, like, oh, I want to be happy, I want to be happy. I really don't even like that word, because it sits on such a high vibration and it's really hard to maintain that consistently. So what we're looking for is to be stabilized, right? Centralized on a consistent basis. So in order to do that, you want to moderate. Now, recovering addicts, we don't moderate very easily, right? Let me turn this over so you can see the title of my book. So cool. Notes from a Certified Mad Woman. We are editing now. We go into pre-sale October, and it launches November 1. So I'm so super excited about that. So what's a better vibration to sit in? Satisfaction, contentment, willingness, curiosity. Get curious about what's coming next for you instead of waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Be willing to change. Even if you don't want to do it, if you say the words, I am willing to consider changing, my life, it can help you. Because observation is not neutral. Observation is not neutral. That is quantum physics. That is quantum mechanics, which means the minute you observe, the minute you acknowledge maybe that you're struggling, acknowledge maybe that you're carrying shame about your parenting. Again, intuitively, I picked that topic, so I know somebody needs to hear it. The minute you acknowledge that, you've already done 75% of the work, right? Because observation is not neutral. So we overcomplicate this healing thing. You're going to be doing it the rest of your life if you have a boatload of trauma. Now, what I recommend is don't add trauma to the previous trauma by changing your patterns, making different choices that are more aligned with where you want to be. Surround yourself with people that have the things that you want. And I don't mean things, because I had all the things: the house, the cars, the toys, the 6-figure income, the pretty little family on all social media. And I was freaking miserable. And I didn't even know it because I was too busy working. So knowing yourself is a skill. It's a skill. Knowing how you tick and click, knowing what's going to set you off, knowing what's going to re-wound you. I don't even like the word trigger. I think it's overused. I like the word re-wounding. Know what's going to re-wound you. And face those as they come up, so you're not adding new traumas on top of older traumas that you may be working through the rest of your life, right? So I'll give you what that looks like. Say so Brody and I have an agreement that we don't throw each other under the bus in front of people. It's not something we do. I've seen couples do it. It's awkward. It's awkward, guys. Don't do that. But say he says something off-putting to me that sets me off, all right, because of something that happened to me when I was 10. So I won't say anything in that moment, especially if there's people around. But I do make sure I circle back to that within 24 to 48 hours. So what that looks like is, oh my gosh, he said something and it brought up something that happened when I was 10. I'll set a timer and I'll process for about an hour. If that's anger, I write it down or I move my body. If that's grief, I'll cry about it. But I make sure I process that stuff when it happens now, because we will be moving through. It's a spiral. Hang on. That's why the psychology, can you guys see this? How can I put this in? See, it's a spiral, right? It's a spiral. Adaptation, identification, deconstruction, reclamation, and resonance. So why do we land on resonance? Because when you're in alignment, first of all, things feel better. And when you feel better, more stuff manifests for you. But when you're in alignment, resonance, things are resonating, vibrating at this higher vibration. And all you have to do is work on you. You being the fixer, being the martyr, being the caretaker. And I'm not talking about caretaking for elderly parents or someone who is sick. I mean, caretaking in a coping mechanism because you want to be liked and be accepted and be loved. Like you have to earn your love. You don't have to earn your love. Your energy is a privilege and not everybody gets access to it. Seriously. And right now, I feel like saying that if you are miserable in your job, I get it. I get being scared. But there are other opportunities out there for you. You have to start creating them for yourself. We spend a lot of time working. And if that time is not fruitful and inspiring and supportive and encouraging, I mean, those things exist in work as well. So when you raise your vibration, all this stuff is going to start vibrating your way. So that's why in the spiral, hang on guys, we're new to this. In the spiral, resonance is the end goal, right? Because we want to resonate with that which aligns to where we want to be. Hold tight, guys. I think that's my hubby. All right, I think this is going to be a good podcast that we're going to cut. I'll have to figure out how to edit. I get to use my editing skills today. Yay, I'm so excited about that. Listen, guys, if you're super stuck and you are the kind of person that cannot engage openly on here because of who you are, reach out to me privately. I'm an executive advisor, executive coach. I work with people to move trauma and change addictive habits. So if you are a person that is hearing this and you can't engage because you can't show up and look a certain way because you're afraid of what might happen to your position, reach out to me privately. I know some of you already have, and I appreciate that. It takes courage to do that. Transformational coaches changed my life. Now, I didn't stay with all of them forever, obviously, but it was working with transformational coaches that really gave me the oomph that I needed to finally move forward. Now, this was after doing everything: DBT, CBT, neurofeedback, brain mapping, accelerated resolution therapy, therapy for highly sensitive people, psychotherapy, holistic psychiatrist, which I'm still with since my mental breakdown. He's brilliant. He keeps up with the latest brain science. And he will prescribe supplements when they can be used. So, hang tight, guys. I think that's Road walking. Hold on. What? Oops. I'm liking my own stuff on Facebook. Hang on, guys. Oh, okay. Okay. So, all right, guys. I think Broad's coming home, and I had an agreement that I wouldn't be working. I'm a workaholic. It's a coping mechanism. And I've got an executive summary that I've got to take care of too. So, if you need someone to help you move forward, I am very skilled at doing that. So, I know most of you that check out my stuff are in positions where it's not always safe to engage openly. So, send me a DM. Just to recap what we covered today, if you can get a QHHT session, if you're in my area, come find me. We'll go to my studio. They are amazing. That is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique by Dolores Cannon. I'm a level 2. Took about 2 years to get that certification. I'm also a master crystal healer. It took about 2 years to get that certification. Certified priestess, alchemist, certified astrologer. So in addition to all my corporate stuff, I know a little bit about working with multiple modalities to help people just feel better. And that just needs to be the goal. We talked about being estranged from our children. If that is the case for you and it's heartbreaking for you, the best thing that you can do for you is, again, what I did for reconciliation: change my behavior and then just work on me. And the rest will eventually work itself out. If you are working on bettering yourself, you will get a brand new inner circle that's going to be supportive and uplifting and inspiring and all the things. All right, guys. All right, guys. Well, we're at 33. I think that's a cool number to stop at. If you're super stuck, reach out to me. You know where to find me. Right in my DMs. My email is contact@lisa-lacy.com. You can also find me on my website, lisalacy.com. Easy peasy. You can send me a message there. If you've got a story you want to share, let me know. If you want to come on the podcast, let me know. And I will be over on TikTok. I am the Neuromystic Alchemist over on TikTok, doing some channeling and mediumship over there. All right, guys. I think we're going to start, in addition to our podcasts, doing lives on here to try to help. That's what we're here to do. I had a near-death experience at the beginning of the year that kind of revolutionized everything for me. when they happened in the past, I always just moved on and worked right after. This one stopped me in my tracks because I turned 50 right after. So it was a huge pivot for me. So we've got all kinds of crazy cool stuff happening in our lives. I hope you have crazy cool stuff happening in your life. If you don't and you want there to be, reach out to me. We can absolutely get you there. All right, guys. Ask yourself the question, what did you perform in order to survive? And then ask yourself the question, what happens to your life if you drop that performance and just become who you are? So you can just be. All right, my friends, I'm your host, Lisa Lacy. Welcome to The Edge. I think we're going to do this on a daily basis because I love talking. It's better than being in the house and talking to myself. And you helped me procrastinate my executive summary for a little bit longer. All right, guys, be well, be wise, peace, much love. I will catch you next time. See you on the edge.